Pokémon, a childhood favorite of mine. And having grown up in the 90s and early 2000s, I was exposed to a lot of Pokémon. It's still considered a global phenomenon to this day and beloved by millions. But that's not to say it hasn't seen its fair share of crime tied to the franchise, ranging from heists targeting rare cards to fraud schemes collecting millions of dollars. Heck, even violence at Pokémon events has occurred. This franchise, though rooted in fun, has had its dark side exposed through criminal activity. Today, we are diving into the dark side of the Pokémon universe, examining some of the most notorious crimes committed in the name of Pikachu, Charizard, and the allure of those collectible Pokémon cards. Over the years, the Pokémon franchise has been plagued by bizarre and often criminal incidents. Today, we're revealing some of the most disturbing criminal activities tied to the Pokémon world, exposing a side you've never seen before. In February of 2021, a man named Nicholas Garrison launched a multi-state crime spree, breaking into gaming stores across the Midwest. His goal? Stealing rare Pokémon cards worth thousands of dollars. The first incident took place in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where Garrison smashed display cases and made off with tons of valuable cards and collectibles. Later on, investigators were able to connect him to similar break-ins in Illinois, Missouri, Kansas, and Texas, all because he left DNA evidence at the crime scene. Years later, in 2024, Garrison was convicted in federal court, sentenced to 27 months in prison, and ordered to pay nearly $300,000 in restitution. This case highlights the dangerous intersection of criminal activity and the skyrocketing value of Pokémon cards, making them a prime target for thieves in today's collector's market. Another such case of collectors going too far is a card shop heist in Texas, actually occurring earlier this year in May of 2025. Burglars hit Evolution's trading card shop in Keelan, Texas, cleaning out its inventory in under 3 minutes. The thief shattered a window and stole almost $100,000 worth of Pokemon cards. The security footage showed a calculated strike. The intruder went for the high-value displays and even took cash, escaping before the alarms could even properly trigger. He even made off with a Gold Star Charizard card worth roughly $18,000, and the incident left the owners devastated and the community rallying to help. Unfortunately, the store did have to temporarily close to assess its losses, and an update is still pending from them. Now, the manipulation of Pokemon's value isn't limited to physical theft. For example, in 2020, one man took things even further, using the global crisis as a cover to fund his obsession with rare Pokemon cards. He took things to a whole new level. What I'm referencing is actually in regards to the COVID-19 relief fraud case involving a really expensive Pokemon card. In Georgia, a man named Vinith Udansin fraudulently secured an $85,000 COVID disaster relief loan. His claim? A struggling business in need of assistance. But instead of using that money for his intended purposes, Vinith spent over $57,000 on a single Charizard card. Now, his scheme was eventually uncovered, and by 2022, he pled guilty to wire fraud. The court sentenced him to 3 years in prison, and in a surprising turn, he was ordered to forfeit the very card that fueled his crime. This case is a stark reminder of the lengths some will go in the pursuit of valuable collectibles, even at the expense of others in need during a global crisis. Now, as we've seen, Pokemon's value is consistently exploited by fraudsters, but the deception doesn't stop with digital scams or stolen cards. In fact, in 2021, a massive counterfeit operation was uncovered in Shanghai, China, where over 20 tons of fake Pokemon toys were seized. These counterfeit figures, poorly made by the way, and often dangerous to children, were destined for international markets, including Europe and the United States, where official Pokemon merchandise is in high demand at the moment. The scale of this operation was staggering. Chinese custom officers working alongside international authorities intercepted this illegal shipment before it reached consumers. The toys, which range from figures to plushies, were made of substandard materials and lacked the quality control of the real product. In fact, the total value of counterfeit goods was estimated to be over $1.4 million, a shocking figure for items that were nothing more than a low-quality imitation. For Pokemon fans and collectors, this was more than just a low-quality knockoff. It was a stark reminder of how counterfeiters are willing to exploit a beloved brand for profit. But what happened to the people behind this operation? Well, the authorities didn't just stop at seizing the goods. Multiple arrests were made as part of this crackdown. Those caught making and distributing these fake toys were charged with intellectual property infringement, which is a very serious crime in China, which results in imprisonment. The penalties for such crimes are severe. In China, criminals found guilty of counterfeiting can face hefty fines and even imprisonment, especially when the operation is as large as this one was. And the seizure was just one example of a broader effort to combat the flood of counterfeit goods targeting the Pokemon brand. But for the fans of the franchise, it serves as a warning, and even those things that we cherish most, like Pokemon toys, aren't immune to the dangers of deception. While counterfeit goods exploit the Pokemon brand, the game itself has become a target for criminals. And with Pokemon GO's global success came its own set of problems. In 2016, Pokemon GO took the world by storm, and millions of players hit the streets to catch those virtual Pokemon. As the game became a worldwide phenomenon, it also attracted criminals lurking in the shadows. Now, imagine walking into a peaceful park only to be ambushed for your phone and wallet. What was once a game of exploration had turned into a trap for unsuspecting players. Lore modules, used to attract in-game Pokemon, actually became bait for thieves waiting to rob players in isolated areas. Soon after Pokemon GO's launch, police in O'Fallon, Missouri reported that 4 young suspects used the game to lure players into isolated areas and rob them at gunpoint. The robbers would drop in-game lore modules at Pokestop locations to attract both Pokemon and nearby players. When unwitting victims arrived, the criminals were waiting in the shadows. In one weekend around July 2016, roughly a dozen players in the St. Louis area were robbed. Police eventually caught the suspects, and their ages ranged between 16 to 18, and even recovered a handgun. The teens were charged with multiple counts of first-degree robbery and armed criminal action. Another instance of criminals exploiting Pokemon GO was out in Las Vegas, Nevada, where an 18-year-old tried to rob a group of Pokemon GO players in a park at night. But the robber, not realizing one of the players was actually armed, ended in disaster. The encounter erupted into a shootout in which both the attacker and one of the other players were wounded. The suspect, Elvis Campos, was arrested and faced charges including robbery, conspiracy, and assault with a deadly weapon. This incident highlights that some players started taking measures into their own hands to protect themselves, and emphasizing how fun can turn dangerous if you don't take the necessary precautions. Speaking of precautions, in a shocking turn of events at the 2015 Pokemon World Championships in Boston, 2 men from Iowa tried to carry out a violent attack on the event. The men, ages 18 and 27, had made online threats targeting the competition, but thanks to a tip, Boston police and event security intercepted the pair before they could even enter the venue. Upon searching their vehicle, authorities found a 12-gauge shotgun, an AR-15 rifle, and several hundred rounds of ammunition and knives. This arsenal was clearly meant for mass violence. The suspects were arrested in their hotel room and charged with multiple firearm offenses. Thanks to the swift coordination between law enforcement and the gaming community, what could have been a horrific tragedy was averted, and the Pokemon World Championships continued without incident. Who would have thought that a tournament meant to crown the best Pokemon player could become a target of an armed attack? Naturally, I want to talk about one of the more serious problems within the Pokemon community, that being the content creators within the community itself. While there has been countless instances of grooming, abuse, and sexual assault over the years, on September 23, 2025, the Pokemon VGC community was hit with a massive surprise. An anonymous user dropped a bombshell stating, "I was sexually assaulted by Judy Azzarelli," which included their in-depth summary from their experience from the World Championships of 2024. For those of you who don't know who Judy, aka SoulSurf VGC is, they're best known for their runner-up finish in the 2014 World Championship Series, losing to the infamous Pachirisu. Now, dealing with serious allegations of sexual assault, Judy provided his own account of what happened at 2024's championships. Surprisingly, he wasn't denying what he had been accused of. but painting himself as a victim and confirming his disgusting behavior in a very detailed explanation. Needless to say, the community backlash has been rightfully harsh. But, of course, as I was working on this video, another situation has come to light, involving more people within the Pokemon VGC community. To give you a quick summary, and if y'all want a more in-depth breakdown, just let me know down below. At 12:05 p.m. on October 4th, a random anonymous account was created to expose Woe Catherine for sexual assault. Within 3 hours later, Woe Catherine dropped her own version of the story, including a different sexual assault from this year's World Championships. The first story pretty much showing that she was being blackmailed and not everything the anonymous account had said was fully accurate. Plus, a new story exposing another VGC player, known as Conifer, for assaulting her. Roughly 8 hours later, Conifer posted their side of the story with multiple screenshots. And of course, all of this sadly proving once again that there are too many malevolent people within the Pokemon community. While that's just kind of a quick summary, it goes to show you that there is a lot of bad stuff that happens behind the scenes. What does this say about the darker side of the fandom? Is it a greed for rare collectibles, or the power of the Pokemon world that fuels such behavior? As we dive deeper into the world of Pokemon crimes, we realize it's not just about the thrill of the game or the excitement of collecting, it's about what these cards, games, and collectibles represent: value, rarity, and the lengths that some will go to seize them. Behind the scenes, Pokemon has become more than just a game. It's a high-stakes treasure hunt. So, as you open your next Pokemon pack or look for that elusive shiny in-game, take a moment to think, what's really at stake here? And with that, stay safe, stay informed, and don't let the dark side of Pokemon catch you off guard. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep your collection close and that subscribe button closer.